something. Woo!
Wow. And we're live. This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. We're here with Shawn Armor. Happy to be back. I will call you the original boss hog.
Oh my God. Boss hog. Accept that.
Well, we'll get into first and foremost. We're going to cover about 5 topics. We're going to try and do this in under an hour. So we're already setting the parameters on this one.
Right.
Yeah. I tried a pod 2 weeks ago. It was 30 minutes. And I was comparing the hits.
Too short. Okay.
I was comparing, it was either 27 minutes or it was 33 minutes. Compared against the usual 55-minute pod I do.
Right.
And I'm thinking retention. I'm thinking, will more people download it? And the numbers kind of varied. It kind of varied a little bit, but I think it's always on. It just goes back to the content. We're not going to go with the scrolling items that we usually, have scrolling. So we're going to freestyle a little bit, but you and I talk behind the scenes about it.
Yeah.
As we're having this discussion, the NFL is kicked off. You got a lot of people pissed off because they're saying the social justice, the walk. I mean,
yeah, those
NFL feels a certain way. I said, no, the NFL basically missed the horse left the barn.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
What they're doing is the barn is burning down, and now they're deciding that, okay, we actually have a fire and we should do something.
Right.
But the barn is already fully engulfed.
Right.
And we're going to do something without the fire department, who was Colin Kaepernick. We're going to do something. We're going to throw sand on it. But, we'll still be in charge, and it'll still be what we say it is, and we will still control the narrative. But
I don't know if the ratings will come into play because, today you had basketball.
The ratings are going to be great, Biz. They're going to be
great. You had basketball, you had hockey, you had baseball. You got a lot of competition. COVID has created a lot of competition.
You got 5 sports in a world where nothing is going on but coronavirus. All those are going to be hot. People are talking about how Naomi Osaka broke her racket and all this not because it's something else to do other than worry about that. Like we were just talking off camera. I went into Denny's today. Everybody had a mask on. 60
you
people.
were in a
Denny's. 2-year-old.
Okay.
Had his mask under his chin, nose and mouth out, and I'm just kind of like I just kept.
But wait. Was he eating?
No. We were all waiting in line. I was there to pick up stuff and leave. Other people were there waiting for a seat, but everybody had on a mask, and him and his big ass family. But to most of their credit, all had on masks. But except for the young 2-year-old, which I get. A few weeks ago they threw this woman off a plane. She had 5 kids and one 2-year-old who didn't want to wear a mask. I'm like, how you know what I mean? They threw them all off the plane. I totally think that is ridiculous. I get it. 2-year-olds shouldn't wear a mask. I'll take the lump for the 2-year-old. But you holding that 2-year-old.
2-year-olds don't transfer the virus?
I don't care. My whole thing is this. 2-year-olds don't care about what the CDC has to say about it. They don't care about Anthony Fauci and his bullshit. Excuse my language. And his stuff.
Go ahead.
Are we rocking? And they don't, you know what I'm saying? They're 2 years old. So we as adults around them have to understand that. You shouldn't have thrown this mother off the plane because you also had a 6-year-old who had a mask on. I think a 9-year-old. Right? So you had a few kids. Her traveling with 4 or 5 kids, and you kicked them all off a plane because the 2-year-old doesn't understand the mask requirement. That's ridiculous. But here in this part of the world where I'm an actual, I can't even say I'm a factor. but happened in my actual day-to-day life today. I get that your 2-year-old doesn't have a mask and you're holding your 2-year-old. Why are you not wearing one? If she's tugging at it, I get it.
What if he was taking a mask break?
Now he just looked at me like, yeah, I'm not a mask. Well, and I was like,
wait,
why.
But he had a mask. It was just under his chin. It was
under his chin.
So maybe
kid wasn't messing with it.
But maybe the kid was messing with it before you walked in.
No. She wasn't. Because that order was late, and we were there at Denny's. Denny's Fix Your Crap. We were there at Denny's. I was there for 40 minutes, and I should only be there for like 5 to 7. Right? I was not 40 minutes. Let's say 25, 30 minutes, honestly. And they had a backlog because you can't fill the place up. They had X amount of seats, and that's what was going on in Virginia Beach.
So what is it? So Virginia Beach, what is it? Half capacity, 50%?
I went into I forgot the name of the mall down here, and you know how everyone always hired like 80 security guards for the mall. So there's a guy. He must have weighed about 80 pounds soaking wet and twice as tall as I was. He had to be like 70. And there was this young, I don't know what else to call him, but like t-shirtless, like rock shirt, like blonde hair, had like spiked out, like blonde, like mousse up here, shaved on the side, mullet. Look, he had to be maybe 24, 25. And he was angry that he was not allowed to, and he was a good ways in. He had to be 200 feet into the mall. He walked in, because I walked in to again, handle some business. So the guy was like, "You can't be here." He did the right thing. He got on his radio and he called some people. And like before the guy knew it, I wouldn't say before the guy knew it, but like he spent like about 7 minutes with this guy being an asshat to him. And then all the younger guys showed up and was like, "You can't be in here without a mask. And we're willing to beat your ass and throw you out." Before he got it, he was there waiting for his girlfriend who was getting off. But the idea was like, it's still a mall. It's still 8 months into a pandemic. Why are you special? You know
so Virginia Beach,
almost a fucking year. I'm sick.
But
of these people.
listen. Virginia Beach. What is it? Half capacity? 50%? 25%? What is it?
I want to say I don't do a lot of eating in restaurants, but when I go there, they look like they're at half capacity or less.
Okay.
I think the governor may have just like eased up on some stuff, but generally, I mean, it's Virginia. It's nice and warm. Eat outside, you knuckleheads. People, remember we had on your last part. They were like, "Well, you can't go to the beach, but you can go to a restaurant." And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So they seem to have sort of fixed that bug about it. So now most places I see are busy, are sparse on the inside, a table, 2 space tables, another table, 2 space tables, or everybody's outside, which is fine.
It's great weather. Go outside.
Exactly. And why not eat outside? People are outside with their dogs and their kids, and that makes more sense to me. But man, just wear your mask, man. Look, I don't get the mandate. I don't like the government mandating that I wear a mask 24/7. But I think that we as Americans should be looking out for. I got something on my neck. I can see it. Should be looking out for us as Americans and not be willing to like risk other Americans for this. But now it's become everybody's. Look, man, people are picking the wrong hills to die on, literally die on. You know, I don't want you in my face, and now you're an anomaly. We've had 4 months of seeing like people be ridiculous with these mask rules, kill people, go to jail. You know, nobody's got time for you. You know, and shame on you for needing to be special and then being arrested for not wearing a mask. You know. So
let's stay in Virginia.
Yeah.
Just in Fairfax, the lieutenant governor is planning to run for the governor despite his sexual assault accusations.
He needs to stop.
When the drama happened with the governor, with the Secretary of State, with the lieutenant governor, they went from this person's a racist, this person has had sexual assaults. This person has done other things.
Sorry.
I thought these people would go away. But it got to the point where no one resigned, because you remember there used to be a day and age where
it's a high school play.
Where someone would do something stupid, other leaders would call that person out, and then all of a sudden that person would resign and go away.
At the very minimum, they would get sanctioned, and you know, and I had to look at what sanction. Well, I looked it up years ago. Now I forgot what it means. But essentially, it's like, all right, and you're a bum and a knucklehead. We're gonna sanction or censor you, which means I forgot what it meant then, but at least it was a mark on your record. It's sort of like being suspended if you're a junior high school person.
Yeah.
Now nothing happens. You can be this is what American politicians are. They hang out, they wait for something to happen, and then they have an opinion on it, and that's it. They don't solve shit. They don't. The only people who gets whatever they want are the super rich who owns them. And like I used to tell people, like on the street, I don't care about the cops. We outnumber you by a ridiculous amount. And the only thing that stops us from rushing your lines is sort of respectful law. Quite frankly, you know, you keep you're killing people while we're marching against you, killing people, and your whole position is to be angry that we are angry at you for killing people who shouldn't be killed. Do I have this right? A few months ago, you had all these 4-star chiefs marching with people, Black Lives Matter people, but they're not doing that anymore, right? Because it was bullshit then, and it's bullshit now. I don't care that you paint a portrait or a street, Black Lives. What are you going to do? It has to be enshrined in law. Mm-hmm. And no one's enshrining anything in law. So
I agree with you.
Who's going to go to the NAACP? NAACP is a joke. I hate to say it, but they're a joke. They were infiltrated by
I gotta disagree.
Not two white women, but they were infiltrated by who's a white lady?
You're talking about Rachel Dolezal. You're talking about Rachel Dolezal. She tricked the world.
Let me finish the thought. Who's the woman who was found out was to be outed by her parents that she wasn't a black woman?
Rachel Dolezal.
By your parents.
Rachel Dolezal. That's what I'm saying to you. But she tricked the world. She fooled the world.
Wait. Then this week we have this African American professor who's not African American. She's Italian, right?
Right.
So all these things where the story in the place is at least supposed to let us know what's going on in the world if we're not super engaged, and I'm super engaged. One, you had someone in your own organization. Two, you didn't at least hip us to some, you know what I mean? It's the whole environment has gotten to be to run on your bygone reputation. And this is why nothing ever gets done. This is why Hillary Clinton, you know, and I think did they just endorse Biden?
Cool.
I think in the first time in their history, did they endorse somebody?
Cool. NAACP?
I'm going to be right about this. But, yeah, the NAACP is sort of what is going on with this. You know.
I think if you had a black candidate run for president...
It doesn't matter if you had a black candidate. You have a black candidate that matters.
So you're going to tell me the NAACP... So the NAACP didn't endorse Obama in 2008 and 2012?
I gotta look that up. I don't know if they did. I mean, they said they don't endorse anybody because this past year, Biden said NAACP endorsed him, and they came out fairly quickly and said we don't make a habit of endorsing anybody. And I want to say that was the word, because I remember having a problem with the wording of it. So maybe it wasn't we don't make a habit of, or we have not. It may have been a little more stark than that we have never endorsed anybody. But then I think they sort of would like, you know, they endorse Obama, whether they want to admit it or not. They endorse Obama.
To even be toying around with that idea is
exactly. Like we're gonna hedge our bets on Obama. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, man. It's become everything's political.
Do you have a Netflix subscription?
Yeah, I do.
Watch the Rachel Dolezal
I'm not
special.
even trying to deal with Rachel.
Watch that. It was
making crazy. I'll sit here on that couch.
It was 90 minutes of just. It's the opposite of goodness. It's the opposite of it. It'll take 90 minutes from your life. You don't get it back.
Exactly.
But I think you'll appreciate that she fooled a lot of people.
Yeah.
She fooled a lot of people.
This is my thing. You want to lie to your girlfriend about being like Latino and actually being Irish or this, that, and actually being whatever. But once you go into the work world, people should verify you, right? And the higher up you rise, people should verify. Apparently she was like stealing from like the welfare people, and the whole thing was just a hot mess. Meanwhile, there were real people who needed real help who did not get it because she was in that seat. You know what I mean? In that chair. And this is my issue. And mind you, I'm a kid from the bottom, so I know that,
I want to do a quick cut.
The $600 that they should have gotten from the government before they kicked it down to $200. Pelosi and Schumer and Yoda the Turtle over here. They live in their $1 million houses with their $30,000 refrigerators. They don't, this is how you get insurrections and revolutions. That whole let them eat cake thing that they did with, we're not giving anybody any money, but we're going to bail out these giant conglomerates.
Hey, this is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show is latenightparents.com. We're speaking with Shawn Armor, talking about a few social and cultural type issues. Next issue or comment or concern that I would like to hear from you on is there was a Fox News poll. And it states more voters classify Black Lives Matter unrest as riots rather than protest.
Yeah, well, that's all in how you sell the story to the populace, right? Again, we can go back to like the Central Park kids who were sold as the most dangerous and dangerous. They were out wilding, looking for people. Remember when we were kids, there was this rumor that people were robbing white women and cutting off their ring fingers to get their wedding ring. Remember that?
No.
You don't remember that? Oh, I remember that. I was like, what? And it was later debunked because it was such a wild accusation. But this is what you get. People sit here and go, this is what the world is. And you're sitting here going, is that really what the world is?
So at the top of the podcast, you were defending Donald Trump because he's only been here 3 years.
Yes, I did defend him, and I'll do it again. You ready for it?
You were defending him, knowing that what he's done in his body of work for the last 50 years.
Wait,
his
body of work
wait, hold on, and then you come back and make a reference. That's very ballsy.
All right, here's my thing. First of all, I've been on your podcast at least 20 times, and everybody knows who listens regularly that I am not voting for Joe Biden. That is not happening. And my rationale
there's no question about Joe Biden. Let's not even talk about Joe Biden.
I'm looking for something over here. Here it is. And it's a very simple reason why, right? Joe Biden's history is essentially racist and segregationist.
Why are we talking about Joe Biden?
I view that as attacking my grandparents and my parents while they were trying to feed me, right? That's how I view that. Joe Biden has routinely said ridiculous stuff against black people. And most recently, this whole "if you vote for him, you're not black" thing. I'm like,
why are we talking about Joe Biden?
So to wrap it, to give you some context of where I'm at. So that goes back to the 70s. I've always been engaged. I remember watching Reagan and Carter debate when Reagan won, somewhere around like the 80s, I want to say. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the groundwork. Introduce Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just another rich fob who went to like fancy colleges. He's hyper interchangeable with any of these other super rich. I'm important. I went to prep school, and he went to a military prep school, right, or whatever. Or I went to. So the idea is they're sort of conditioned to think that they're better than people and be snotty and arrogant. I totally accept that from Donald Trump. Totally accept that. I do not accept that Donald Trump is responsible for all the racism in his last three. He's only been around for 3 years. So you want to get him on like bank fraud for that
much longer than 3 years.
You want to get him on running around and cheating on his wife. Fine. You want to get him on paying off mobsters in New York to build his hotels. Okay, fine. But racism, he didn't write the crime bill. He didn't endorse the crime bill. He wasn't the lead speaker for that crime bill. It was him, not him. It was Biden, it was Hillary Clinton, and it was Bill Clinton and all them minions, Chuck Schumer, right? So now, here we are. You're asking me to vote against a racist. You a racist. No, let's not.
I'm talking about Black Lives Matter.
Let's say you. Hold on. I'm about to wrap it up. Let's say you with a dubious history of racial fairness is asking me to vote. And mind you, these are two 70-year-old white guys telling me who point their finger at each other, going, "Who's a racist?" Right? And first of all, both of you can go kick rocks. But the idea that I don't know enough about the history of the last 50 years and how it affected my family to know who is, I wouldn't even say a bigger threat. Everybody's always talking about, that meanwhile, no one's talking policy. But I don't view this as a threat thing. I view this as an integrity thing. And since I have a bad pick and a bad pick, and the lesser of two evils I don't buy into, I have to settle on integrity, right? So my integrity says, you don't get to treat my grandparents like that. You don't get to treat my parents like that. You don't get to set up the dismal future of my nieces and my nephews, the dismal future that I'm already caught up in, and get a bump from me. That's not happening, right? So you win it or lose it without me. And I'm where George Carlin is. If I didn't vote for you, I don't get to I get to complain because you voted for the troublemaker, right? So if you all run out there and vote for Joe Biden and he makes the landscape worse and the racial divide worse because that's his leaning, I get to go, the fuck were y'all doing voting for him in the first place? Versus we're all black, we all have to vote Democrat. And I was telling we together. I said I spoke to Todd. They were like, "Oh, my, and I agree with this. We were not allowed to vote. We were marched to the polls, but at gunpoint to vote for who the Klan wanted us to vote for. So now, vote.
I need you to.
I'm about to wrap it up. You should.
No, but you're not answering the question.
I'm 30 seconds. 30 seconds. You should absolutely vote, but if you choose not to vote, that is also your right. Because if you didn't want to vote back then, you would also be carted off at gunpoint to vote for who the Klan wants you to vote for. Don't be gaslit into this whole slavery and your history. So you must come out and vote, and you have to vote for Joe Biden, or you're not black. It's too many.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Riots, absolutely. Or protesters.
Here's my thing. We have been marching for a good long time in a place that has treated us horribly for an even greater time, centuries, right? I don't care if they burn stuff down. I don't. Like I said earlier, you see these, in the beginning, all these 4-star chiefs are marching with people. They're not marching anymore, are they? They're back on getting all this media footage of who's at the rally to arrest people 2 and 3 weeks later. Quite frankly, go fuck yourself. You should have fixed it. You don't want to fix it. We're not going to keep sending our kids off like this is some altar of sacrifice to democracy. Excuse my language, but fuck that. I mean, fix the problem. It's not that hard. I don't care that you painted a street Black Lives Matter and some asshat throws paint over it. First of all, that guy his head should have been crushed in the street. You have an open racist. No. Stop. No, we've been kind about it too long. And it's important. This showing up at peaceful rallies with AR-15s. Are you serious? So why should you not show up at your own peaceful rally with an AR-15? So they can instantly go, oh, well, obviously they showed up with guns. They're obviously the problem. The problem here is always the media's narrative. Remember Khalif Browder, who was dead innocent. Dead innocent. They kept him in Rikers Island for 3 years and then tried to get him to cop to a plea to protect themselves. And when they finally couldn't do that and they had to let him out after keeping him in jail with hardened criminals and pinheads he was 16 and leading to his eventual suicide. How are they not responsible? How has no one ever carted out these lawyers, these judges? Shut up with your March More, and we will figure out what to do with you. Didn't Barack Obama shut down the NBA protests? And a year before that, the head of the commissioner of NBA, Stern, threatened those guys. I dare you to fucking protest. Everyone should have did that.
All right. We got to move to the next one. We got to move to the next one.
Environment is silly. It's silly.
So I take it you're for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Protesting.
But I'm also pro-cop. As a retired police officer, I'm absolutely pro-cop.
I mean, we're everyone is against the rioters.
Your policeman.
Everyone is against the rioters. You don't riot. Period.
Yeah,
you don't.
I don't think that's the case. I think the people who are telling you everybody's against the rioters are the same people who will happily tell you it's sensationalized any case with any black face on it to sell newspapers. Right?
So, Andrew Gilliam.
The problem is that simple. No one wants to fix the problem. Everything on my TV, I'm a giant news junkie.
Andrew Gilliam.
Always this us.
Okay, we got to move on. We got to move on. We're running out of time.
Oh, really?
Andrew Gilliam is.
We're going to move on to Andrew Gilliam.
This is
and go back to what we were talking about because that guy
this is his redemption tour.
No, it's not. He's not being redeemed.
This is his redemption tour. He was dealing with a substance problem. And
what's the substance? Penis? Is that the substance?
Come on.
I mean, isn't he married?
Come on.
Wasn't he caught with a gay male?
Come on.
With drugs? No. See,
he was caught. He was caught in a very peculiar predicament.
I'm sorry. A very peculiar predicament. Okay.
He said he had too much to drink. He doesn't know what the person next to him was indulging in or. And
does he explain how he ends up in a hotel room with this gay guy, naked, covered in vomit and feces?
I don't know. This is his redemption tour.
Yeah.
This is his redemption tour.
This is what happens. Look, it's 2020. Gay guys, seriously. You don't need to get married. It's not like the 1820s. You can be gay publicly, and no one's going to... Now we look worse upon you after you marry some woman, and you're still running around with guys and doing drugs and trying to get elected to governor. I mean, what are you thinking? I think it's just the height of his arrogance, quite frankly. That his natural predilections wouldn't come out. You know what I mean? So if I'm running for governor, I'm gonna tell you I like whiskey, and I smoke J's, and I like, because this is me. You won't find me doing anything other than that. If anybody came out and said anything other than that, they would be hard pressed to prove it. Prove that I run around with men and do coke in hotels, please. You're giving me free money. I can get an idiot lawyer to beat this case because when I'm not here online or driving around, I'm online playing video games, and that's a stupid record that leads you to my Steam account or my Xbox Live account or whatever. You know what I mean? But this behavior at that level is
it would be 100 times
new.
worse. It would
Not
be 100
new.
times worse if he was the acting governor of if he was the governor of Florida.
You know, but at that point, he'd have been empowered. They would have protected him. They absolutely would have. They would have been slipping guys into the rear house of like the governor's mansion, like they did with Kennedy. Yeah, so they would have patted him down before to make sure he didn't have a phone or any, let him go in with his drugs, and then in 8 years he'd have been somebody's vice president. I mean, seriously.
So, and we're about on upwards of 15 days, 15 days from the end of the month. This month, if there's no action, if there's, the only thing we've seen is inaction. At the end of this month, reports that up to 30 million people could be evicted.
Yeah. I mean,
question is,
suck.
Question is,
yep.
For you, where's the legislative branch? And where's my stimulus check?
Want to be anywhere near the pandemic, right?
Where's my stimulus check?
Look, the one thing I believe you're gonna get is a stimulus check for a couple of reasons. One, when it gets this bad, the first thing the government does to throw off heat off of themselves is give the populace money. George Bush did it, right? When September 11th happened, the federal government gave like a lot of money to like cops and fire.
Yeah, but all of that has that PPP money and everything else like that is people. You have businesses that burn through it. A lot of businesses won't be coming back. The question I have for you is: you're going to have a homeless problem.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing about I think you're gonna have a problem. Maybe we'll have a homeless problem.
If 30 million people get
under Roosevelt,
if 30 million people get
throw you out of your house, right? Because
if 30 million people get evicted, you're gonna have a problem. It's gonna look like San Francisco. Right. Have you been to San Francisco?
Right, but what I think is likely going to happen is all these ridiculous rents, $3,000 rents, are going to come down, or all these rich people will buy up all of the remainder of Brooklyn and San Francisco and all this stuff. And like I said, people on the bottom will lose their hot and pepper over it, and run them up. I mean, we outnumber the nonsense. You're not going to put 30 million people on the street. What, you're going to walk over 10 families to get to the F train? They're going, and then there's going to be 20 families on the F train, so you can go and make a mint on Wall Street. They'll burn you out of your house. I mean, this the environment is goofy, ridiculous, right? I know a couple of people who make good money on Wall Street, right? Because I used to live in downtown Brooklyn, Carroll Gardens, and the problem is the people who are, let's say, native to Brooklyn are not these people. They moved to New York to work in these places, and it's people begin to feel resentment. Like, why can't I get to like the next rung in a place where all these foreigners are getting to the next rung in like Manhattan, right? So when I go back to Brooklyn now, I walk around, there's a million accents, and you're like, I'm not happy for you being here from Germany or Paris or England or Greece. I'm not happy for you being here from even parts of America, like Montana. I just feel displaced.
Well, why aren't you happy?
I just told you. I just feel displaced. You can't. You like look. They're killing us off here in the street, and you're coming here to live high on the hog in Brooklyn. I have a problem with that. You know, I mean, granted, I'm no longer a New Yorker. Well, I guess once a New Yorker, always a New Yorker. But I have an issue with that. So, I mean, what do you want people to do? You can't expect people to keep being happy and I want to say satisfied of your success when every turn they're met with derision and as they, I mean, people are trying to follow their dreams, but they're being told, we'd rather have someone who's from another place do it. It's a problem. It's a problem. And I think that's a lot of what the problem is. America keeps telling you out we're a nation of immigrants, like we want more immigrants to come here. And I always tell people, we have enough men and women to make more people. And we have enough men and women from all over the world to make more people of all stripes. Right? We don't need to keep letting more white Europeans in from Europe. And to say that it's the narrative that they're selling you, who's selling you that narrative. It's not the working class union guy. It's the elitist going, hey, we're for immigrants. So like my wife, your new first lady, like, what, the whole place doesn't make any sense.
Topic that I wanted to talk with you, which we featured on Late Night Parents, was misconduct. Harassment involves in the virtual workplace. What happened?
No, I was just apologizing for my misconduct. All right, here's the thing. When are you just going to start firing stupid people? I mean, you're online and you're harassing somebody in like a group chat. You don't make any sense.
So I don't know if you see this. Are you seeing the screen?
Yeah, I see it. Misconduct 2.0 harassment involved in the virtual workplace.
The Not Me app.
Yeah.
You would think that, I mean, harassment is harassment. It happens everywhere.
Yeah, but you know what? The more I hear about harassment, the more I think that, like me and my boy Panic were having a conversation, right? This was years ago. And he was like, what did we used to call it? Like, holler at a girl, right? Hey, let me talk to you. As she's walking by, you don't know where you get slow on the street. It's sort of like a cold call, like what men used to say. When you don't have an appointment, you just kind of show up and kind of like shoot your idea, and maybe they'll take it, maybe they won't. And my buddy was like, "That's just harassment. You just need to leave women alone, and she need to." I was like, "That's not how relationships work. You meet people where you meet them, right? People have met on subway trains as well as in business offices, right? People meet in wild places, and what I was beginning to realize was people who would never do that were hyper judgmental. Like my boy Panic would never do that, but he was hyper judgmental about people who would, right? It's like people who wouldn't sag their pants, but they're hyper judgmental about people who do. Why is his pants? Oh my God! Like it's this idea of I wouldn't do it. Why is anybody else doing it? And it took him a little bit, and like I said, I've known Panic for like 30 years. It took him a little bit to be like, maybe you do meet, because I personally have introduced at least 3 people who got married, and like at least like another 3 people who like are still together with kids, right? Just because I'm amiable and I'm open, and I generally when I see like 2 people who I think are fun together, I like to stick them together. That was back in my bar days, but that's not always the way the system works. Sometimes you have lightning in a bottle, and he walks by, and maybe you should smile at him and say hey, and maybe he'll say hey back, or she'll say hey back, or whatever the case may be. But the idea that you can't holler at a person walking down the street because it's.
But what if they don't want to be hollered at?
Well, then that's the chance you take. Hey, miss, can I talk to you? No, I'm busy. All right, bye now.
I actually like this app. I like this app because it does
I think
safeguard.
app like this lends itself to just nonsense.
Well,
Everybody gets to be.
I think it's
How
needed
dare you
because
ask me out? Oh.
you want to make sure. I mean, most
Make sure
companies,
this is life. How you gonna
most
make sure?
most companies have an HR department. I'm not going to say every company has a HR department, but it's like you're dealing in this virtual world now, and you got some people that are from time to time can become out of pocket.
Well, this is not new just because the technology is different. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's a stat of how many people meet at work, right? There's a stat of how many people meet in church. So people will meet where they meet. I mean, I'm not crazy about these apps. But at the end of the day, I think just because I'm not crazy about it, it goes against my own philosophy of you meet where you meet. So maybe you fall in love happily ever after with an app, right? I find myself being judgmental of something that I know runs against my own philosophical tenets of how people meet. So
you have a valid point. There's how people meet versus harassment.
Right, exactly. Look, this has always been my thing. First of all, I've never dated women at work, but my whole thing is ask a woman out twice. That's it. You can ask her out twice in the same week. After that, don't do it. Or you can ask her out once in when you first meet her, and then 2 months, 3 months, a year and a half later. Maybe but after that, you don't ask again. Right? This is not baseball. You don't get 3 strikes. You ask, oh well, I thought we were, I thought you didn't. Now we know each other better. No, okay, fine. But leave married people alone, and people don't care about the married law. They're having to hop into bed with like their married boss. You know what I mean? So I mean, a lot of this should be.
I'm just going to read a small portion of this. It says the Not Me app is a safe, anonymous misconduct reporting app available to any employee for free. Its data and dashboard are sold to corporations as a helping hand for workforces, HR teams, chief compliance officers. So currently 75% of workplace incidents go unreported. So this app enables companies of all sizes to keep their finger on the pulse of misconduct issues. So this is much different than what you're talking about, because if people are dating versus there's full-blown misconduct issues.
I'm talking about sexual interaction at work, which happens. Everybody would love to find the love of their life wherever you find them, at work or at the ballpark or at the bar or whatever. But sometimes people end up hooking up at work, and then it leads to nothing but problems. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not for the first, second, or third person, but the fourth person. Hey, I'm going to ask her out. All of a sudden, it's like, how dare you? And you go,
it said in the wake of the Me Too movement, Not Me was founded 2017. Mobile app has since expanded and empowers speak up cultures on compliance, racism, harassment, misconduct, discrimination, bullying, and other injustices. Bullying is the number one issue.
Well, yeah, America's full of bullies. I absolutely agree with that. But here's the thing. You should have to stand next to it. It's a tenet of America that you get to confront your accuser. What is this whole, I don't want to give my name, but I want to be able to ruin someone's job or life or marriage or whatever. You better speak up. And this is my thing about these sexual harassment things. You should have to tell people this happened when it happened. Maybe not, officially to the HR department, but a lot of these things, people go, well, she wrote in a diary, she told her husband, she told the priest, and the priest wrote it down in the book. That, all this said, what you said at the time that it happened was honest and valid, and it was concern, versus going back 30 years and finding nothing on anything. And again, I'm from I've said this on the show before. For every boy born in my family, there's like 3 girls. We are like girl heavy. It's ridiculous. So I'm absolutely, as what's the word I'm looking for? I'm super. I get like guys get run over, but I'm also super sensitive to the women in my family. Right? I don't want some
Well,
ridiculous
you should be super
tart messing
sensitive
with them at work.
to women
But if
altogether.
he does, I want them to go about it the right way and be like, go to HR, send a email to the boss so it's on record. So 10 years later, when he's running for Senate, you can go, you did X, and they can go, what are you talking about? And they can find that email. Versus, I mean, and we live in a technological society now. So it's not the 60s where it's nebulous. People talk.
So would you say, would you get thumbs up or thumbs down to that app?
With one exception, I don't like the idea that anybody can accuse you and be anonymous in America. I don't like it, especially what we're going through now, where people just go, some random person called the cops on some black guy standing on the corner, now that black guy's dead. You know what I mean? I want you to have to be identified. America allows bullshit to happen and protect the wrong people. Is my point. I just want you to have to put your name next to it. I mean, your name is important. Your name is important.
You mentioned TENET, but I know you weren't talking about the movie TENET.
No.
Have you seen the movie TENET? And as a follow-up question, have you been back to the theaters yet?
No. I haven't been back to the theaters. I haven't been back to restaurants other than to pick up grub and get out of there. I'm in a beach resort. I haven't been to the beach. I thought TENET was supposed to be on television. It's not. Is it going to be in the movies? I mean, still.
It's in the movies. It's in the movies. It's going to be on television sooner
Mulan?
than.
Well, isn't that Mulan supposed to be in the movies too?
It's they went straight to video, but they did like Disney Plus. But if you're a Disney Plus subscriber,
do you think they opened this up too early? Because
go ahead. I think. Here's what I think.
I don't hear clamoring for movies though.
Well,
I'm sure they want to get it up and running again, but I don't.
They've got a backlog of movies that have been created.
You're right.
And now it's messing with the schedule of everything else because there's going to be a glut of movies, and it's you don't want it to get to the point where there's 8 movies.
Movies generally have a half-life out in the theaters of, I want to say, 6 weeks. It's not long.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Unless it's a Marvel movie.
Right. Super box office movies will run longer, but the average movie has about a good 6-week kind of run.
And most of the money is made internationally.
Right.
So
and they all want the Chinese market.
That's what you're dealing with. I don't really know. I can't really say whether or not when it was announced that movie theaters are opening, I was kind of like, that's interesting.
I saw the commercial with Tom Cruise. And I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go straight to video.
But it's a market that, has been ravaged also by COVID. So,
yeah.
And then, see, the whole thing is the whole problem with the direct-to-video is the amount of piracy that's happening out there.
Is piracy still a thing with streaming?
Piracy is still a thing.
Huh.
Piracy is still a thing.
I didn't know this.
Yes. It's still an issue. Because
I guess that makes
why
sense.
should I subscribe to this streaming service?
DVDs?
Why? No, but why should I subscribe to the streaming service when I can go and grab the pirated copy for nothing?
Right. So instead, don't you still have to have DVDs in a land where DVD players are dying? That's why I thought it was dead. I mean, do you have
DVDs are dead or piracy is dead? No,
piracy was dead because no one, fewer and fewer people have a DVD player.
But see, the piracy has grown a pair of legs, and it's more than just DVDs now. They have websites that you can go to where
to
these
watch
movies
and
to watch movies.
To pirate the streams. Well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought piracy would be dead. I guess that makes sense.
So, just my question to you. I mean, well, I don't think. No, they didn't jump the gun with opening movies. For me, I'm not going to be in a movie theater.
Right.
It's just, for me, being selfish, I would like for them to release Black Widow. I would like for them to, the powers that be to release some of the movies.
Right.
Whether you do it digitally and what Disney Plus tried was with Mulan. Hey, we want you to pay an extra $30 to see Mulan, and you can have a digital. You can have a digital copy of it.
When I pay $30 in a movie theater I at least get popcorn and
right.
So
right.
Yeah.
So it's
for a street that doesn't make any sense.
$30 for this 2-hour movie. And when
Is it even 2 hours?
I don't know, but the funny thing about it was even if your service lapse with Disney Plus, you no longer have access to the movie because the movie is only available inside the wrapper of Disney Plus. You get it, right? They're making a movie available.
How many people around the world has Disney Plus?
Well, it's 60 million subscribers, I think, U.S.
Lord.
U.S. U.S. So you got to sit there and think.
They have 20% of the population. And that's wow, that's pretty impressive. All right.
Yeah.
These guys maybe swallowing up like the oxygen for anybody who wants to start anything. If this keeps getting as big as it's getting. No, I think it's now we're at a maximum for streaming services. We're at a maximum because everyone has their own streaming service and they're asking for you to pay money. And even though I love Star Trek and Star Trek Discovery, I don't want to pay. And I really want to see that cartoon.
I don't want to pay for CBS All Access.
Right.
I really don't. But piracy still exists. Movie theaters still exist. I mean,
movie theaters still exist.
I don't know when I'll see the inside of one. My buddies Rob and Lee and Todd, they attend the movies in Tennessee and Georgia and Miami, and I'm like, good for you guys.
Yeah.
I just had a problem with AMC that first weekend. They were like, oh, any movie, 15 cents. And I'm like, I'm paying 15 cents to go see a movie.
I think people are doing the right thing. I think people are properly weary of this whole thing. And they don't want to be the first ones back in, and they don't mind being the last ones back in.
No.
Like, I love movies. I used to go weekly at the matinee. It's free Tuesdays here.
Okay.
Tuesdays, so I'll see 1 or 2 movies for like $5. Not free, I'm sorry. Tuesdays,
like a matinee,
$5 a day, for all day. So I'll get popcorn and watch a movie or two when it's something that I really need to see, like a Marvel movie or Knives Out, which was just brilliant. But when I did that, I was one of 3 people in the theater anyway before the pandemic.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling being part of the crowd. Like, remember back in the day, there were movies that we had to see in the theaters. Remember we saw Beat Street? There was like a ton of us, and that's that's movie energy. You know what I mean? Kind of like this happening that you all have to see. And granted, a ton of movies come out, and your listeners, but I'm sure they all have a movie where they all, got their friends together and had to figure out what show you're going to see and make sure you had tickets to see it. And usually it's like Star Wars has become a cliche. Early Star Wars movies, the originals, were the thing. Aliens, those movies, they were like a happening, right? Every now and then there'd be like Grease. When that movie came out, everybody wanted to go see that movie. There's a movie from 1978 called Thank God It's Friday.
Right.
And it had this ensemble cast. It was sort of like Airplane, but in a disco where everything went wrong. And everybody went to see that. Like, I couldn't because I was too young, but it was my sister's generation, my brother's generation, all those guys went to see it. And it was a thing. I don't know if they can bring that back without a giant set piece. And the only person who I think can get me into a movie to see a giant set piece is likely Tom Cruise, because I know he's going to hang off the side of a missile or shoot himself into a volcano or do some other ridiculous thing that is Tom Cruise doing. And I'm like, Tom Cruise is the last actual movie star. He really is. He is the last action hero. How old is Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise is getting too old to be doing this. But who else is going to come through it and give you that kind of, I have to see this ridiculous kind of, romp. So, yeah, I mean, until that happens, I can wait for Netflix or Hulu. I don't have Hulu. Amazon, Netflix. If it's not on Netflix or Amazon, I don't really need to see it. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff to watch, and I should be reading books anyway. I don't need every streaming service. 2 is good.
Two is more than enough.
Exactly. 2 and read a book and go for a run, for God's sakes.
2 is more than enough. Hey, we're gonna close out of this one because we're almost at the. Oh, this is great.
Oh man, what is going on over there? Unprofessional, Biz.
Yeah,
shock. Calling
my son's
agent
phone
immediately.
My son's phone. I told him because it's school tomorrow. I said, "Yo, you gotta turn in your phone."
He's got to turn in his phone.
Yeah.
Oh, to you.
To me.
Oh, okay.
It's time to go to bed.
All right.
It's time to go to bed. And I could sit here and disable the internet on the cell phone and disable the internet upstairs on the Xbox and all that.
Right.
Nah, just bring it downstairs.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to kill you. It's going to kill you. Trust me.
But what if he wants to sit under the covers and write love letters to his girl? You hang up first. You hang up first.
Yeah. I told him. I said, it's coming to me. Hey, thanks once again. Ways to follow True Armor. Go to Twitter or YouTube.
Yeah,
True_Armor.
Yeah, catch me on Twitter, True Armor. And catch me on YouTube, Truest Armor. Either one of those, True Armor or Truest Armor, on all my media. And write something. I'll write back, honestly. I don't have that many followers. And I love talking to people.
Gotcha. We're out.